Okay, first up is Kendra, and there's a few different logo ideas here. I like the name Jazzy Pants. I think it's funny. Um, this one sort of makes me think the cat is kind of throwing up or something. I'm not sure if that's the intended thing, but that's sort of what it makes me think of. So I might skip that one. I do like the way the tail forms a J here. And I also like the film strip as a tail. I think that's clever as well. And then this has a ball of string. I think is clever too. Although it may read as a film reel a little bit less because of the relative size. A film reel, original 35 millimeter film reel, is probably you know on its side almost as big as a cat, so that looks very small. And I understand it's supposed to be like a ball, playing with a ball or a ball and string, um, but the scale I don't think necessarily works. So it could be interesting. Another kind of variation on that is like to have the cat like sort of swatting at a film strip, the way cats sort of play with dangling things is another option. So I think you've got a few good options here. Keep in mind whatever animation you do needs to be very, very simple. And you are going to want to add some motion to this in some way. So it could be as simple as the film reel itself rotating or turning, but either way, I feel like it's not looking like a film reel because of the issue with the scale, the size. It's too small compared to the cat. So, um, anyways, give that some thought. I think you've got a lot of good options here, and I think you could kind of go with any of them, but I think work on that scaling issue. And then think of a very simple animation you can do, like the cat's paw batting at something, for example. Okay, here's your animation. Sorry. So, film your rolls past screen, gray cat fades in, rolls back on, cat's paw stops, and tail drops, and then Jazzy Band Productions. Yeah, I think that works pretty well because the animation is pretty simple. So again, I would say get the scale of the film reel right, and I think this could work. And I think you could, work on your text more. I know obviously you use a font, but if you could kind of sketch it how you imagine the font to be, that would be good, especially for the logo itself. Overall, yeah, I think this is some useful, good ideas. So, yeah, keep going with that. This is Michael. I think it'd just be easiest to watch this. Yeah. So I mean, it's good that you kind of got ahead by already doing some video. I imagine that this is supposed to look like sort of aged or distressed film, but right now it's kind of very flickery and distracting. So I might try a different way of doing that. You probably can look up some stock footage you can kind of overlay of scratched and damaged film, or look around for other techniques, or maybe some tutorials out there. But and I think the appearing animation is fine, but I think maybe get something with a little more motion going on, something moving in or out. Also, it's usually it's production. It's like if it's a frame by frame production, but if this is the name of the company, it's usually productions, with plural with an S on the end. So yeah, get a better aged film look, and also I think these kind of lines look a little too kind of perfectly computer drawn if you're going for it kind of a more hand done old film kind of look. So think about think about doing hand drawn actually, or find a way to kind of make it less than computer perfect. Just a quick look at these. Here we can see the logo. But again, this is all kind of incorporated into the videos you did. Oh, this isn't. So yeah, that's an interesting element as a different idea. Yeah, I can see some real potential for these kind of film strips moving across the screen in different directions. So I think that could be interesting for some animation. Again, interesting design element with the frames of film, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't really necessarily see where the animation could come into this, although I'm sure you could come up with something. I think like film is normally like oriented the other way, like vertically, because the film frames run through the camera vertically, and this is like the way film is oriented if it was in a still camera, although I think there was a format that was like this, which I believe they called Super 35, where it was rotated on its side like that. But I suppose that's besides the point. So yeah, you've got some interesting elements. Oh, there's one more here. Oh no, that was video. Okay, so we've seen a few different choices of kind of looks of this. I think the name frame by frame is good. I think it should be productions instead of production. And yeah, I think the letters appearing can be part of it, but I would say also to get some more motion involved. Next up is Mercedes. It looks like you've got a lot of different ideas. Cool monkey, wildflowers. I guess that's Sierra Films. I think the cool monkey is good. I like the drawing here a lot, and I like that you're really thinking about the different fonts you would use. I think this one's not that strong. I think it's tough when lettering is real thin like this, and I don't know, the upside down text I'm not really buying. And then I tend to not like sort of script fonts for logos. You'll find there are some out there, but very few modern ones are sort of script like that. And this is interesting, the Sierra Films, where I guess that's kind of reminiscent of a mountain, like the Sierras. That's the idea, maybe? But I'm not sure that the A is looking really like part of the word Sierra here. So if you wanted to use this one, I think you'll have to find a way to tie that in a little bit more. And the thing about the sort of After Effects animation thing we're going to do is that something like a ballerina twirling around is quite a complex kind of hand-drawn frame-by-frame animation that's well beyond what we have the time for this assignment. So what you're looking for is more kind of drawings, illustrations, or images kind of moving through the frames in different directions, rather than kind of a full frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation. So, when I was looking at this, I thought what would be interesting is if you could either create or find video of one of those little toy box ballerinas moving around, lit just so nicely, and then you kind of added your graphics around that. That could be kind of a cool way to do the same idea, and it could be a good look. But don't try to do this as a hand-drawn animation. It's too much to be. That could take you the whole semester to do really well. So, and then this presents bang bang. Yeah, that looks a little rough. Not sure quite what you're going for here. I think that could use some more work for your title. Okay, this is Jeffer. Just gonna zoom in a little bit. So yeah, I think the logo is good. It's interesting, and I can see how it's a J and M. You kind of close in on part of the, and you kind of moves left to right. Not really sure. Is this two separate shots, or is it like goes up and then goes to the left? It seems like it's two separate shots. And then you kind of zoom out to see the whole logo. And this, as someone else mentioned, I had some concern about turns into a revolver, like, and how to go about that. It might be tricky, without looking, I don't know, like a hokey or something, like an old morph. So yeah, I don't think that's easy to do well. I think someone else mentioned the idea of that being like we could keep pulling up further and we find that that's the logo on the gun. That was sort of monogrammed or something, and like on the handle, on the grip. And yeah, so it's this transition that I'm struggling with, but I think the idea of draw and the gun firing can work well. So yeah, the logo works well. Think about this transition to do something different with that, and think a little bit more about what you want to do with this title. The other thing is that the logo and the title don't need to connect, if you know what I mean. If you think about a typical movie, the logo is the logo, the whatever, universal logo or whatever, and then the movie title is not necessarily, can be related in the design, and sometimes they do that, but you don't have to do that. So you don't actually even have to do this transition. This could be the logo, fade down, fade up, and then you could do this thing, and that would be fine as well. Next up is Kobe, and yeah, I mean, Fedora Films, I've never heard it before. It sounds interesting. Looks like you spent some time crafting the letters, which is nice to see. A little unusual the way these look sort of backwards to me, but I guess you're kind of going for a style there. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking it might be interesting if the hat did something like, I don't know, slid to the screen or flipped onto the screen or something like that. Or maybe you want to, if you actually wear hats, maybe you want to kind of nicely light and photograph a hat, or even video the hat and like slide it across the table and have it end up right in frame or something. I don't know. You could probably think of something clever, but it'd be nice to incorporate. Since it sounds like you have your own hats, you could use your own hat as part of this, and that would be good. So let's zoom in. Fedora enters from bottom left, boomerangs to the center, stops in the center, text appears. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you shot some stuff with a real hat, that might be cool. Like maybe, and obviously you can't get a real hat to boomerang, but you could probably do some clever stuff, and maybe, kind of on a very smooth counter, you could kind of spin it around and maybe videotape that in slow motion, to make it look nicer, get plenty of light on it. Most phones these days let you do that if you don't have an actual, proper camera. And then your kind of After Effects animation will be more about how you do the text. It could also be like if the Fedora moves through the screen, you could kind of have it kind of reveal sort of a wipe on the text with the Fedora. Could be another idea. And also you're going to want to think about the film title and a sort of graphic or animation for the title as well. Right? So yeah, the thing is though with the boomerang and is that if you had to hand draw it, you would have to hand draw the hat, from every angle as it rotates, and I'd be afraid that we don't have enough time for that. Or if it didn't rotate, I don't think the boomerang motion would look right. So I'd rather either do kind of a simpler motion with an illustrated hat, or video record a real hat and incorporate that into your After Effects thing, which might be better anyway. Okay, this is Cam. Northern light shimmers, zoom out, and the lights get brighter. Film reel begins to fade in with the lights. The film for the film reel. I can't really read that. Something through the sky, enhancing, changing color with the lights. So it's like part film reel and part Northern Lights, and kind of fades into it. Okay. Yeah, I guess what I would do is try to collect some video of, moving Northern Lights, and maybe even a few clips that you could kind of blend together in there, and then find some nice photographs of coiled up film like that you could use. That would work. And then kind of blend the two together, as you've said. Is that wow? I can't, but if it's saying it's like if the motion is the film winding its way through the sky, I don't think there's going to be a good way to do that, because just the nature of After Effects and stuff like that to get a kind of a ribbon like that to curl and move would be a large animation project. So we kind of simplify the idea. I like the combination of the Northern Lights and the film. I think that's good, but I think the actual movement of the film is going to have to be simplified and to make it more about combining it with the Northern Lights and actually moving the film. Also, you should have like a film title and some kind of animation for that. Next up is Alfred. This is sound on production. So sound on. It's like an ear, maybe a finger in the ear. Okay. Ear is coming left, finger is coming right. Once they get together, there's an eruption. We would call it doom out. Little person approach. The sign that says presents. So I think the finger in the ear thing is could be interesting, and that could work. And keeping the animation very, very simple. You could kind of find a stock footage of some explosion and kind of composite that over your other images. But this whole thing, I don't really see that happening, so I would try to come up with something different for that. Also, you'd want some kind of film title and some kind of animation for the title. Next up is Princeton, and yeah, I like the style of this. I think it looks good. Happy Moon production. So it opens with the sun sleeping. Maybe you want to do something different with the eyes to make it obvious the sun's sleeping. Flies over the moon laughing while holding a marker. Show both characters. Show the full logo. I like the kind of the hand-drawn style you've got going. I think that could work well I'm not really getting the marker thing. Is it that it drew a mustache on the... It says face drawn with marker. So are we actually seeing the whole sun being drawn? Or do you mean like just a mustache and beard is added? I'm not entirely clear on that. And again, I would do something different with the eye. They sort of look like glasses right now, but I would put some kind of closed eyelid looking thing. Even if inside these glasses, if all you had was a little curve. Can I draw on this? Like, I'm drawing with my mouse, so it's not going to look bad. But even just that, to me makes it look like it could be sleeping. Let's do that in black. Why is it still red? Anyway. Oh, because I didn't click off of it. Anyways, you get the idea. Like, to me, that looks more like sleeping. So does the marker draws the whole sun, or draws on the sun? Either way, I think you've got a good look going here. And maybe, since it's called Happy Moon Productions, I think Productions is usually with an S on the end is usually the thing, and maybe you could somehow just frame the moon at the end, and maybe he's kind of laughing, like kind of, just subtly kind of bouncing up and down, and the mouth is moving. I don't know. Also, it could be a cool thing to do with the stars sparkling if you just did like maybe 3, 4, 5 drawings of each star, and then did like a little loop animation, and each drawing is almost the same, but they're just enough little different that they look to kind of twinkle and move. Might be nice if you did little animation loops on those. So yeah, really good look. Yeah, and then just a short film, the final showdown. So I think this part needs a little bit more work and explanation to it. So what you want to do with the title. So I would put a little more effort into that. But you've got some good basic stuff here. Okay, this is Mark Heath. Okay, the scene starts with a shot of a tree on the hill. Young man walks up the hill towards the tree. Young man getting ready to read under the tree, sitting under the tree reading. As he reads, something starts happening. A light shines out of the book. The boy disappears, leaving his clothes under the tree. Okay, there's a lot going on here. I think that what we won't be able to do in the context of this class with using After Effects as the tool is have a young man walk up the hill towards a tree. So we won't be able to do kind of a full-on hand-drawn animation of somebody walking. So what I would consider is to simplify this, basically remove 2, 3, and 4, and maybe start out with the tree with the young man maybe leaning against it reading the book, and then cut to the book he's reading, and then you can do your light shine thing, and then you just see the body missing and the clothes, and then it's called Under the Tree, which to be honest, I don't really get it, like why the light is making his body disappear, but it's interesting. I'm just not sure what it's supposed to mean. But yeah, then it's really just effectively, 3 different illustrations: the tree with the boy leaning against it, the book and the whole glow effect on the book, and then the tree on the hill again, but this time with just clothing. And you've got Under the Tree. I think this could be a good title, good logo name, but you also want to figure out what you want the title to be, the title of the short film, and some kind of animation or presentation of that. So add that. Okay, this is Gabrielle. So logo fades in. There's frog sound effects. Riveting Ideas. It's funny. I like the title. Riveting Ideas Animation Studios. Yeah, it's a good idea. Screen go back, music plays, animation by Gabrielle Maynard. Foam wheel hopefully looks like a tumbleweed. That's a lot going to be in the way it moves. You should look at some video reference of how tumbleweeds move and try to copy that. I also think it's going to be important, like the background you have. I think if you have the sort of old west looking background, you get the timing and sort of bouncy, drifty movement of the tumbleweed movement right, then you'll kind of buy it. But again, it's the background's going to be important for that as well. And the title will fade in. I would think about more that you want to do with the title. What is the title, and how does it look, and what kind of animation are you doing with the title? But yeah, overall, I like the idea. And you've got that sort of old west desert background, which may just continue on behind this. Okay, next up is Ariana, desert production intro. So we've got desert, and we zoom into one area. Desert production presents shots in the wild, and the words get shot. Okay, yeah, I think that right now, I think there's a little more you could do with both. There's not really what I would call a logo, which is kind of some recognizable, iconic thing where text is combined with an image of some kind. And I don't think you actually have a logo right now. So I think you should work on some logo ideas. And if it's desert production, desert, I think of a cactus or like those rock shapes you've got there. You could use some of these sort of obvious desert elements, what we associate with desert, to come up with an icon, like a logo. But I don't really feel like you have a logo right now. And with the title thing, the words getting shot, that's fine. But how did they get shot? It's one giant bullet hole in the screen. What does shots in the wild look like? Is that just text on the screen? Is there some kind of background? Is it carved into wood, or whatever? Is it a poster on the wall? It could be anything. So I just think this needs more work. I don't think we really have a logo at all, or any logo animation. And the title also, it feels like it's missing a lot of thought and detail. So I would take another pass at this and figure out more detail and flesh out your ideas.